He is a Democrat representing the Western Corridor of Dallas. He's the chairman of the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus, which is the largest and oldest Latino legislative caucus in the United States. Representative, thank you for being with us. Did anything come of that remarkable debate? It's very rare for us to see actual political debates in a legislature. So when you watch something like that and you think you presented your counterpart on the Republican side with a lot of interesting information that should have fed his decision as far as writing this bill goes. What happened after that?
Well, thanks for having me, Ali, and a shout out to my mom, who I know is always watching, and to all moms on this Mother's Day weekend. I got to tell you, the last, 48 hours have been really tough. We stayed up until about 3 a.m. last night, came back this morning and fought this bill. Regrettably, the bill passed. Democrats were able to chip away at the edges of this thing, but when a bill is sort of based on the big lie, and I was glad to see the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania talking about that, it's irredeemable. And the bill sought to have partisan these election observers looking over people's shoulders, intimidating voters, and we were able to chip away at some of those things. So election judges, independent election judges, won't have somebody looking over my mom's shoulder when she's trying to vote. And so we thought that was an important provision to take out of the bill. But the history lesson is not only something that harkens back to Jim Crow, or even that purity of the ballot box language. I mean, we're seeing it real time here in Texas. During the last decade, we have multiple findings of intentional discrimination against the Texas legislature in voting rights matters, not 50 years ago, not in black and white, but real time and digital during the last decade. So it's something that continues to happen in this state, already the toughest state in which to cast a vote in the union. And Republicans are continuing to pile on. We scored some points last night, but this is still a terrible bill that passed today. It's going to hurt voting rights in the state.
Representative Kane, when confronted with the idea that this was a free and fair election in Texas, we know that your lieutenant governor has offered a bounty for people who have found examples of voter fraud, doesn't seem to want to pay that bounty out for examples of Republican voter fraud. But when Representative Kane was confronted with that information, and he said, well, we don't want to have to wait for bad things to happen. Texas has enjoyed freer voting rights in the past without bad things happening. What was the precipitating event in Texas, or in Pennsylvania, or in Georgia, or in Iowa, or in Arizona that has caused everybody to make this priority number one?
Well, it's the loss of Donald Trump in the last election. The ex-president has continued to talk about stopping the steal, and he's perpetuated the big lie. His enablers have done it over and over again. And that big lie is that people of color stole this election from him in cities like Dallas and Houston and across the nation. The reality is, as you heard Representative Gonzalez, my colleague in the legislature, say, the Secretary of State, that's Governor Abbott's chief elections officer, she said that the election was safe, secure, and successful. There's no evidence of voter fraud, but that has, that's not deterred Republicans in this state, either the last decade or this decade, as they continue to trample on voting rights. Might I say, not of Democrats, not of Republicans, but of all Texans of all stripes. I mean, in my closing speech today, I said, help me preserve the votes of Texas Republicans. Help me preserve the votes of Texas Democrats and everybody else in between. Because this should not be a partisan issue. Yeah. My parents are immigrants to this country, and we think this is the greatest country in the world. And we're very proud that we still have this precious right to vote. In a lot of places around the world, people don't have it. But we sure as hell are going to fight all night like we did last night. We're going to fight. We're going to make some good trouble on bills that seek to curtail these rights. And we have to live up to the best ideals of this country, and we're not doing it here in Texas.
Representative, good to see you. Thank you for being with us, and happy Mother's Day to your mother, since I know she's watching. Representative Rafael Anchía from the Texas legislature. We'll be right back with some good news on a Friday night.
Some days, you just don't have it. Not my uncle, though. He's taking Trulicity for his type 2 diabetes, and now he's really on his game.
Once weekly Trulicity lowers your A1C by helping your body release the insulin it's already making. Most people reached an A1C under 7%. Plus, Trulicity can lower your risk of cardiovascular events.